everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to set up PSR-4, the composer, and how to add a filter to turn on reusable blocks inside WordPress. So let's jump on in and I'll take you from zero to hero on how to create that plugin for your WordPress site. So we've got a basic WordPress, and this is just an install that I've done on local. So I've got WP local here. If you need to get that, there'll be a URL on the page here. Go to the site, download it, install. This allows you to set up WordPress locally. Okay, so once I've got that, we're going to create a plugin so that we can show reusable blocks. So the first thing I do is go into VS Code, which is my editor of choice, and we're going to create a new folder, and this is going to be just called core functions. Core. Normally what I would do is have domain name. So I'll just say domain core is the name of this plugin. Whenever I create a site, I always do a core plugin. And every single time we do it in PSR-4. So that's what we're going to be showing you today. So once I've got that, I need to start creating some files. And all of these are generally pretty straightforward, but we're going to talk through it so that you can understand a little bit about how to create a PSR-4 based plugin. So within here, there's a couple of folders that I'm going to make. So the first one is called core. So that's a file, so I don't need that. Get that. New folder called core, like that. And then inside of here, we're going to do a new file. And this is the name of my plugin. In this case, it's domain core.php, like that. And then we're going to do another new file here. And this is going to be composer.json. Like that. And then inside core, we're going to put a new file called init with a capital I. It's really important that you put that capital I on there. And then we're going to do a new folder inside there called base with a capital B. It's really important to put the capital B on because that's PSR-4 compliant. All right, and inside base, we're going to put a couple of other files. We've got the activate. We have base controller.php, and we have another new file called deactivate. And that has to be a capital again. Okay, and then inside here we're going to do another folder. This folder is going to be called admin. And inside that, we're going to have a new file. I'm just going to call this reusable block.php. Let's make sure we spell that right. Reusable block.php, just like that. Okay, so now we need to fill these files up with stuff. All right, now obviously this doesn't do anything yet. So the first thing we're going to do is fill out our composer file. And inside of this, we have a simple description template that I normally use. So I'm just going to paste my template in and then we'll talk you through it. So first of all, we've got our namespace, and this is domain. So we're going to call this one MRKWP, which is just, the domain name that I'm going to use here, domain core. All right. And then we're just going to say website core functions here. And then down here, we've got the namespace. And this is going to be called domain core, like that. And that needs to be an underscore. Just like that. Okay. So here we've got the composer loader. Now composer is used to load libraries and things, so you could require anything here. whether it's a CSV uploader, SMTP tools, whatever, it allows you to do that. On top of that, we put in a custom vendor directory to lib. The reason why I do this is I found that with WP Engine, when I use vendor, quite often things don't work when I upload them to their shared environment. So we changed that to lib. Okay, so that's our composer file. Then inside my core file, we need to also add a couple of things. This is my core plugin file. So this is just a plugin file like any other. So we're going to start with our comments. And this one says plugin name. And we're going to call this core functions, just like that. And the plugin URI there. So we're going to put in a bit of a template from here. So let me just copy this so we can go a little bit quicker. Paste, there we go. All right, just like that. Okay, so now we've got everything there. Now I've got to change my text domain to domain core because that's what it is here. And package is MRKWP. There we go, just like that. Save. There we go. So now I've got the base stuff that I need to start setting up. I need to open the file as a PHP file as well. That would help. Okay, so we've got all of that. Then I just put in the access things. This is just a bit of security. This means if someone directly tries to access the file on the server, it's going to break. Then we've got our composer loader. So this requires the auto loader that we're going to load shortly. So inside composer, we can see that we've got the PSR-4 auto loader. So what this thing here is doing is saying load the auto loader. All right. And then we've got a couple of other little hooks and things to run. So I'm going to paste in one that I've got from another plugin, and then we'll go ahead and rewrite it so you can understand what it is. So during plugin activation, we're going to run the base activator. So we've got to just change some of these things over to domain core. So our namespace here, right? That's the namespace that we're going to be using. Is domain core. So all the way, use that. And I've been starting to just say activate plugin like this, and then deactivate plugin like this. Just makes things a little bit cleaner and easier to understand. And then we say here, domain core init and domain core init, just like that. And save it. So what does this do? Well, it loads the autoloader and runs the activator and deactivator, and then goes to the initializer. The initializer is really the gel that brings everything together inside our plugin. So then inside, now again, this is all boilerplate, so you're running a PSR-4 friendly code. All of it's going to be available for you guys to be able to take a look at on GitHub. So check the links below. And if you want written steps for all of this, also check the links to go through to the website. They're all there. Okay, so now what we need to do is go to our initializer. This is the next step that we have to fill out. And inside the initializer, we've got a couple of little things to create. So let's go ahead and say what our package is first. So we say at the top, our package is, package is core functions. Okay, just like that. And then we say namespace. This is our namespace for PHP. And then we've got a final class here, init, and that's a capital I. Always capitals for PSR-4. Okay, then we have a public static class that we're going to create, and this is a register. So this really registers everything that we've got in terms of services for the site. So when we create our reusable block class in a second, we're going to throw it into the get services tool. And then what that does is it sets like a loop, so you can loop through. So here you've got our register services, and this function runs a for each loop. And it basically says get the services, go through the class, and for every service call its register method. All right, the register method is a tool that we use to register any hooks and filters. You'll see this shortly. And then we initialize our class. That's all that there. So this is a single class. There will never be extensions to the initialization class. There is only one inside core functions, and there only ever will be one. Okay, so it's a very core tool to everything that you want to initialize. That's that. Okay, now we need to do our base controllers. So we've got an activator inside base. So base is just, all your basic tools that you're going to want to use. Let's just see what we've got here. So far we've got our domain core file, and we're now creating this activate tool here and this deactivate tool here. All right, so that's what we're looking at. So for activate, we can take this part here, this package part here. I'm going to copy that from my initializer and paste it. And this is core functions base, like that. And then we're just going to make our activate class. And all I want to do whenever I activate is just flush my rewrite rules. That's it. So that's all pretty simple. And then we've got our deactivator as well. So I'm going to copy the top part again, because that's just all the boilerplate that tells the loader where everything is with the auto loader. And in this one, we want to have a deactivator. Now, I'm just putting a flush rewrite in as a basic thing, but you could really run anything. I mean, sometimes people want to delete database tables, they want to run all sorts of things on deactivate. For us, we've got a very simple thing. We're going to flush rewrite rules. That's it. So deactivate and activate is done. And now we're looking at, let me get the top thing again. Now we've got our base controller. And the base controller sets up a series of base methods. And we just use it so that we've got plugin reference stuff. So we've got that there, that is domain core. Let me just double check what I called this thing. It's called domain core, not core functions. So I'll have to go and fix all of that. Namespace is domain core, domain core, domain core, domain core. So that name there represents this here, the PSR-4 autoloader. Okay, domain core, like that. Activate, domain core, and the deactivator. Domain core, just like that. All right, so this plugin now will work if we load the autoloader, but we haven't done that yet. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to open up the site shell here inside our tool, and that will open up my WP CLI interface. And there we go, we're inside here. So what I need to do is from here, go into WP content, and then we're going to look at that, and we've got our plugins. So I'm going to go into our plugins folder, and then I'm going to CD into domain core, like that. Yep, that's all correct. And then what I'm going to do is just go composer, install, like that. Excellent. So that's now loaded. Now let's take a look what happened inside here. We've gained a composer log file and a lib file. And here we've got composer with our autoloader class map and the autoloader. So that's all running, and that deals with all these files now being included. So it might look like a lot of code to write, but you think about the advantage that we get. Now everything inside my core folder is automatically loaded for me and ready for initialization. I no longer have to worry about writing requires and any of that sort of stuff. It also means I can use Composer to bring any other type of library in that I want. Whether it's CSV, Salesforce integrator, whatever it is that I want, I can bring in these libraries and use them in my code. So it's a huge advantage. It's very similar to a node module or something like that we use for Gutenberg. Cool. So that's all there, and that's now all set up. So before we go any further, what I generally do here is just check that my plugin's showing up in the back end of my site. So we'll go into here and go to plugins, install plugins, and we'll see if we're getting that. Now this is going to take a little while because we're on local. It's the first time I've loaded it. So there we go, core functions. Here's my website core functions. My version's out there. I think I'll go change that. Everything else looks okay. So let's go change my version. So I'll go back to domain core. This was because I brought this in from a template. So I'm just going to go 1.0.0 like that. Save. That looks good. Composer there. That's good. So everything else is okay. That all looks good. All right, so the next thing we want to do is create a reusable block stuff. But before we do that, we are going to activate this plugin and make sure it runs. So what happens when I click activate? And this is how you check that you're on track. Activator runs. My activator classes should be running. And we know that we've got a fatal error right now. So what that is, well, we're going to have to work that out. So it says here, domain core line 28 in the call stack. Line 28, activate plugin is duplicate. Okay, so let's go back to our plugin code. So what it's saying here is this function, activate and domain base activate, this activate plugin to registrate the activation hook. It doesn't like it because it's a duplicate. So I'm going to say domain core like that. Oops. Activate domain core, deactivate domain core, and then this function here says deactivate domain core, just like that. So what we've done here is just registering of hooks. So we've got all this stuff here. So what this does is just, you know, runs. So when you say register activation hook, it says in this file, run this thing here. In this file, run this thing here. So those names at the end have to match these function names. And then what that does is goes domain core base activate, run the activate function. So in activate, it'll run this activate function. In deactivate, it'll run this function. Okay, so that should all be reasonably clear. Let's try again. Let's see if we can get that to activate. All right, so now we've only just got one problem with our for each, but the plugin activated. So that's expected. This thing here is giving us a warning because our public static function doesn't return anything, and we're calling a plugin. Bit of code. So that's inside our initializer. So that's just this get services here, which should really return an array. So if I just say return, like so, that's going to work okay. And then just to start working on our reusable block, we're going to come into here. So this one has a slightly different name. So we're going to copy that, go into here, and this is going to be admin. So why is that admin? Because the folder's admin. All right, so your namespaces match your folder names up here. And then what we're going to do is start creating our class. And this class is going to be used to register that particular function that we want for reusable blocks. All right. So what we're going to do here is say class reusable block and open just like that. And then what I need is a public function called register, like that. And then I need another function, and the other function is going to run to add the menu. So we're going to say function, public function, add reusable blocks admin menu, like so. All right, that looks good. And then up here, inside my register function, we're going to say add action, like that. Admin menu. And then we're going to use a slightly different syntax to what you would normally use. This is because we're targeting a class. So we want to say $this and then the name of our function, which is this here. Copy and paste that in, just like that. So then up here, we need to put our doc block statement in, and this is the default register function called by init class. Okay, and then this one here is the function to add reusable blocks to main to admin, like that. Okay, that's good. And then we just have to add a little bit of code here, like that. So here we're adding reusable blocks. Save that. And then there's one little bit that we need left to do, and that's our register function here. And inside here, we need to put the name of our function that we've created, which would be the namespace with the class on it. All right, so here we've got domain core base, right, for the activate and the deactivate. The reusable blocks is admin. So just from admin, we go here, we write admin like that, backslash, and the name of our class, which is reusable block. So we go reusable block like this. Over here, reusable block, class, just like that. Come on, save it. So now what happens is the get services will get the admin reusable block service, which has a register class, and then the register services goes through anything inside here and calls its register method. The register method then gets called inside this class that says on the admin menu, add the reusable block menu, and this is add menu page, reusable blocks, blah, 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 blah. Right, and that adds everything in there. Now you could just add this hook to a functions file, but what I find is then things get out of hand fast. So then when you end up with a plugin with multiple post types, multiple blocks, short codes, taxonomies, all this sort of stuff, it blows out. So we always start with a class like this for any domain website that we have. We can see that this all works fine now. So when we go back and when I refresh this, we're going to see a couple of things. First of all, this error will go away. And then on the sidebar, we've now added reusable blocks. And reusable blocks will show any reusable block that you've saved inside Gutenberg, and you can import those from JSON and add new. So this is the reusable blocks area now added to the main side navigation. So let's just do a quick recap. So we have our domain core folder. Inside of that, we have our domain core.php, and this calls everything up that we need. We have our composer JSON file that uses the autoloader. All these classes are then automatically loaded along with our base and admin. Now, when we added the reusable block, notice that we can just use the name of the class. We at no point had to do an include or require. It's automatically loaded by the composer tool. Okay, well, I hope you liked that video. Don't forget to like, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, click the bell notification as well if you want to see more videos like this. We are going to continue with the PSR-4 autoloader series.
alright, so that you can understand how to add more and more functions to these plugins, things like post types, ACF fields, all that sort of thing. I hope you liked it. I'll see you in the next one.